Hi, I'm Alex from HD Labels, and today I'm going to take you through creating your artwork and cut lines to work with the Afinia DLF range. So in order to print and then cut your labels, you need to create your artwork. So this is a finished, ready design, and what I'm going to do is show you how to create this. So what we have here is a multi-layered design. I'm using Adobe Illustrator. We've got our artworks, we've got our cut lines, and we've got our registration marks. So I'm going to take you through creating this from scratch. So to start with, we have a JPEG, which is our artwork. This is what we're going to be printing. So your customer sends you this image and says, right, I would like these labels cut to whatever shape. So if we do a new, our page width needs to be whatever width our material is. So if you're using something like the Afinia L901 that has a max 220 wide material, that is most likely what we'll be using. You tend to use the full width of the whatever the finisher can deal with. If you're maybe using the Oki Pro and you're on the DLF 140, then that will be a 140 wide max. But for now we'll do 220. I don't know what the height of the label is off the top of my head, so we're going to just stick with 100 and hit create. So we have created a 220 wide by 100 mil high page. Key thing to remember when printing to any label printer, the leading edge that comes out of the printer is the width. So this is it here. So I know that sounds silly, but if you were using a label maybe that's around a different, maybe it's a different orientation, then it can confuse people because they think the width of the label and not the width of the page. The first thing we need to do is we'll bring our artwork in. So I'm literally just going to drag this into our page. So actually this label will be used with a label applicator. So it's really important we know the orientation of the label when we start. So actually I would like this to, if I rotate it, and I think we're looking at 90. You can see my artwork here is now flipped. So when it's cut, it would actually be slit on the sides and therefore will be left or right hand leading. I actually would like this to be the other way around, so I'm just going to rotate it again, 180. And what I'm aiming to do is have it print, this being the leading edge. So once it's finished, the whole job is printed and cut, this will be left hand leading on the final roll. So we've actually got our artwork on layer 1. So what we're going to do is create another layer. So one layer being for our artwork that's going to be printed, and one layer for our cut line. So we select layer 2, and so now we need to create a cut line. So I'm going to pick a rectangular shape, and if I hold the mouse down on here, I can choose standard rectangle tool or a rounded edge. So we want a rounded edge so to give us a smoother cut on the final label. So if I just click anywhere in the page, so I would like this label to be 93 mil wide, 76 high, and have a 3 mil radius. So if I say OK, so we have our label. I can move this where I want to be. If I select both of them, I can actually just cheat and center the two. So it doesn't look very good at the moment, basically because if we select, go back to our rectangle, we need to make the insides transparent and set the frame as red. It's really important you don't pick a spot color at this point, as the finisher will have problems with the spot color. So we now have our graphic and our cut line. You'll see them here on two separate pages. So what we can do again, if we select them all, and we're just going to copy and paste. We've then got two side by side. We can then select all of those and then center them. So now, just bring them a bit close to the bottom, because what we need to think about is our gap size, top and bottom. So if I just printed this and cut this now, there would be a huge gap on the top. So if I select one of the cut lines, you'll see that it's 76 mil and our page size is actually 100 mil. So what we would like to do, if it's 76, and we'll put maybe a 5 or a 6 mil gap. So we're looking for an 82 mil page size. And then I'm going to just select the artwork again, center it on the document. And we're good. This will give us a consistent gap either side of the artwork. One thing I've noticed is where I've copied and pasted, I have my artwork is in the wrong layer, so I'm just going to move that down. So I'll end up with 2 layers that have 2 cut lines and 2 images. So the last thing we really need to do is to create our black registration mark. So again, we can just choose a rectangular tool. This time it does need to definitely have a square corner. I just click somewhere in the artwork. This is going to be 2 by 2 millimeters. I say OK. I know that I don't want it to be transparent and with a red border this time, so I'm going to have a transparent border, but I'm going to make it solid black. So if I just click into the base, so our Reg Mark always needs to be in the bottom left of the print, and it also needs to be just below. So as long as this edge is below the artwork, or below the cut line really, it will register fine. If everything is below, if everything in terms of your artwork and cut line is below the Reg Mark, you will find that the finish will have problems going back on itself. So the last thing we need to do is we need to replicate this cut, the Reg Mark. So I'm basically putting another one directly over the top and then just moving that down into the print layer. So you can see with our layers, we now have a layer that contains 2 artworks and a Reg Mark, and then the next layer has 2 cut lines and a Reg Mark. So we can make the cut lines invisible. So this is what we will print, and then if we make the print invisible, the cut's visible, this is what we will send to the finisher. So if we save this now to File, Save As, and we will choose, this needs to be a PDF, and I'm just going to call this Hound Dog Cut File. And what we tend to do at this point is also put the height of the page. So remember the page, the artboard was 82. So when I put 82 in here, that will help me when I come to import the cut file into the DLF software, because it would like to know the repeat size or the repeat length between black marks, and that will be your page size. So if I save that, and now if I view my file, I can effectively print this straight to my printer. So if I double click on layer 2 and untick print, I can still see all of my cut lines, but actually when it goes to print, it will look like this. But so it's really handy for me to just align or just make sure my cut lines are where I want them to be. Quite often, the first time I do it, I might even print a page with a cut line on just to make sure it lines up as I want. So if we would like to, because there's quite a rounded edge on here, you can change your print or change your cut line if needed, if a 3mm corner, for example, is too big. So now we're at the point where we have our graphics ready, our cut line ready, cut line's been saved, ready for the finisher. We can just print this. So you would create a page size in the printer driver to the whole artboard size. So in this instance, it'll be 220 by 82. You can see that up here. If we choose our artboard, 220 by 82. So that's the document size. Then that will give you consistent printing, which will then match up perfectly with the finisher. So to see how the cut line actually is used, we've put a link below to a full demonstration of the DLF220s. So that shows the importing of the cut file, the setting up of the cut job, and actually cutting your finished labels. It doesn't matter what printer you're using, this process would be the same for all of them. So you're creating your artwork, creating your cut line, and then as long as your page sizes all match up, you should be good to go. For more information on the Afinia DLF range, help, or a full demonstration, talk to the team at HG Labels. Thanks for watching.